Christian leaders are preparing for a protest outside of the White House against what they call a moral and political crisis. At least 1,000 people are expected to attend tonight's service and protest. Opinion Nation, should filmmakers be open about a character's sexuality? It's 2018, yet Hollywood is still partially in the closet. If Albus Dumbledore is gay, as J.K. Rowling asserts, why not make that apparent in the Harry Potter movies? If Lando is pansexual in Solo, a Star Wars story, why drop hints? Here's what Donald Glover, who plays Lando, had to say.
He recently said that Lando is pansexual, as you may have seen. Were you aware of this when you were filming?
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
I didn't know he said that.
How can you not be pansexual in space? There's so many things. There's so many things to have sex with. It's like, I'm serious. Like, I didn't think that was that weird. He's like coming on to everybody. I mean, yeah, whatever.
If you're asking yourself, pansexual, say what? Definition: not limited in sexual choice with regard to biological sex, gender, or gender identity. And you're like attracted to everyone no matter what. If that's Lando's thing, though, why not be totally transparent in the movie? We've actually been having this conversation about sexual transparency since at least 2011, when rumors circulated that Bert and Ernie, the Sesame Street characters, were gay. There was a petition urging them to marry, and they appeared on the cover of The New Yorker looking, as you can see, romantically cozy. Sesame Street, is it time to get rid of Bert and Ernie's twin beds? Opinion Nation, I want to hear from you. Should filmmakers be more open, totally open, about a character's sexuality? Please comment on my Facebook page or tweet me at CarolHLN. Join the conversation with my guests, senior entertainment reporter Lisa France. Ernest Owens is the LBGTQ editor at the Philadelphia Magazine, and Allie Stuckey is with me, who is a TV host of the Conservative Review. Thanks to all of you. Ernest, I shall start with you. Why is Hollywood still partially in the closet?
I think that the industry has had a hard time really understanding that their audiences is becoming more out. And unfortunately, we're still forced to see heteronormative characters in pop culture, even though the society that we know with the population is becoming more and more out about their LGBTQ identity. And I think that for some people, they're scared to take risks. This industry is still sexist, in many ways racist, and in many ways homophobic. So, you know, sometimes pop culture moves the needle, and in many ways it's also regressive.
So Allie, if young people are sitting watching the new Star Wars movie and Lando in the movie says, hey, I'm pansexual, would that be okay?
Well, the question is that a part of the storyline at all? And is it necessary to insert any kind of sexuality or sexual orientation to a movie that's not about that, especially when it comes to shows that have kids as the audience, like Sesame Street? Why do we need to be talking about sexual orientation? Why does this have to be a part of every single conversation? People, stories are more than sexuality and are more than their sexual orientation. I take issue with sexualizing every single piece of pop culture that we have. It's not about that.
Well, I don't think that anybody means talking about it, Lisa. I think it means if characters are gay in a movie, then maybe they should hold hands. Maybe they should kiss once in a while. You know, act like normal gay people act. Lisa, that's to you.
Oh, sorry. Yes, absolutely. You know, sorry, I was so engrossed in the conversation. I'm like, yes, Carol, exactly. You know, and Hollywood, of course, is known for not just setting trends, but also reflecting the real world. And people want to be able to see characters in their totality. They want to see characters being in love. And if you happen to be in love with the same gender, they're like, why not? If you happen to, you know, be open and pansexual and be open to everyone, then they say, why not? Why shouldn't it be a part of the character? Because getting into a character is the totality of that person, and that includes their sexuality.
And I agree with you up to a point. Let's just talk about being pansexual. Like, first of all, Ernest, I didn't know what that meant, and I had to look it up. So is this something that, you know, in 2018 people are familiar with? And should we learn it from a Star Wars movie?
I mean, I think that we're learning it now in pop culture. I mean, Janelle Monáe just recently came out as pansexual for her new album that just came out and did really well. And to the point about sexualizing characters and people don't care. We don't say this when we see straight couples engage in all of our Disney animated films and how they talk about marriage and how they talk about dating. So I don't understand why it would be a problem to see two same gender-loving individuals do the same thing. I mean, I'm an openly gay black man, and it's important to see representation across the LGBTQ spectrum. And so when I watch it, I don't feel like I'm being grossed out. I don't think that children or my brothers who see me and my partner at Thanksgiving are grossed out to see us. And it's not that we're flaunting our sexuality. We're human beings like everyone else. And I think that in many ways this normalizes difference. And we should be at a time talking about inclusion in the industry, especially at a time that we're having right now with representation in Hollywood. So I really want to push back on this notion that somehow when we talk about LGBTQ characters, that somehow this is going to be a detriment to children, because that plays into harmful stereotypes. And we also need to talk about inclusion. So I'm openly gay, and if I was in a movie or if I was watching a movie, I want to see myself represented. And so I would really push back on the idea that somehow I'm not being normalized.
So, Allie, Ernest is specifically talking about what you said. So push back.
And well, I think that I made a little bit of a different point than the one that he is making. I wasn't saying that in general the LGBT community is harmful to be seen or harmful to children, but I'm saying sexualizing characters that previously weren't sexualized, like Bert and Ernie, they're freaking Muppets. Like, do they need to have a sexual orientation? Why are we inserting sexuality and sexual orientation into conversations that it really doesn't matter? It's irrelevant to the conversations. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about sexualization, especially in front of children, whether it's gay or straight.
You wouldn't be having this conversation if Bert and Ernie were heterosexual. If Bert and Ernie were heterosexual, you probably wouldn't be having this conversation. It seems like when it comes to same gender-loving characters, that's when we seem to have this pushback. But we don't say this with Mickey and Minnie. Right? When Mickey and Minnie are hugging each other and kissing each other for animated characters, we're not saying they're being overly sexual, but it seems like Bert and Ernie liking each other becomes an entire controversy for no apparent reason. So it really speaks to your issue.
Lisa,
what is your
I'm
issue
just
with
curious.
same gender-loving couples?
Oh, Allie?
I don't think that's really part of this conversation. I'm not saying that I have an issue with them being seen. Modern Family is one of my favorite shows ever, and they show plenty of affection. I'm talking about sexualizing characters that weren't previously sexualized. I mean, if we were talking about Mickey and Minnie sleeping together, I would probably have a problem with that as well. So I'm just talking about bringing this up in conversations where it really doesn't need to be brought up.
Okay, so Lisa, a question for you. Liberal Hollywood, like, if it's so liberal, why is it afraid of this particular issue?
Because they're playing to all audiences and not just liberal audiences. They're playing to middle America. They're playing to people who may not necessarily be comfortable with this topic, comfortable talking about gender or sexuality. And I have to push back a little bit. That whole Bert and Ernie thing, part of the reason why they got started is for years, people in the gay community were saying, we think Bert and Ernie might be in a relationship. And that's what started the conversation. It's just not that willy-nilly somebody said, oh, let's sexualize those characters and let's put these in front of children. This has been a conversation point. And as we become more comfortable talking about these issues, people feel more comfortable bringing these things up. But you do have to keep in mind there's still some people who don't want this to be part of any character. They don't feel like this is necessary for Star Wars, for Sesame Street, for anything. They're just like, just give us entertainment and stay out of people's bedrooms.
Okay, I have to leave it there. Interesting conversation there. Lisa Franz, Ernest Owens,
and nothing's happening in the bedroom at all, so. Nothing's happening in the bedroom at all.
In the bedroom,
so, I mean, none of these characters are doing anything in bedrooms, so we got to stop sexualizing sexuality. I mean, they're not in the bed. They're just loving each other. What's so harmful about that?
Okay. Lisa, Ernest, Allie, thank you so much. Following months of harassment claims against actor Jeffrey Tambor, his arrested developed